This is a WKP live stream. So this is a video of the H-Wharf model, as you can see, landfall in Texas from, let me turn that down. Landfall soon in Texas from Tropical Storm Nicholas. Let's get right into this Atlantic-wide tropical weather forecast. So, as you can see, we have a few disturbances. We have Disturbance 1 and Disturbance 3. We also have Tropical Storm Nicholas. So, let's start off with Disturbance number 2, which is the weakest of all of these. So, showers and thunderstorms are very limited in association with a non-tropical area of low pressure over the far northeastern Atlantic, located 100 miles off the East Azores. Significant development of this system appears unlikely during the next day or so, while it moves slowly eastward. And then it'll move over Portugal. So I do not believe this will form at all. As you can see, it only has a 10% chance of forming. But based on what I'm seeing, it has a just very low chance of forming. Now, Disturbance number 1, on the other hand, it has a 60% chance of forming. So it's possible we could see this one form. And there's something really important we need to keep an eye out, on this storm for, is it's going to be moving westward, which could possibly bring it towards the Antilles, and definitely in a realm where we could see some effects, possibly in the USA. We also have Disturbance number 3, which has a 50% chance of forming. Now, Disturbance 3, as you can see, can make a very, very close skirt by the coast of North Carolina, out on the Outer Banks. So it's possible we could see this one also affect some areas. Let's say it does follow this path. I would expect it to curve out, but there are definitely some areas we should keep an eye out with Disturbance number 3. Some areas that have already been affected by some storms that have been moving through. Now, for Disturbance number 1, a tropical wave is expected to emerge off the west coast of Africa on Monday. Environmental conditions are forecast to be conducive for some gradual development of this system thereafter, and a tropical depression could form later this week while it moves westward 10 to 15 miles per hour across the eastern tropical Atlantic Ocean. So, this is kind of what I'd say a little more to-the-gun forecast from the National Weather Service. They usually don't forecast so quickly like that, so it's possible we could see a tropical depression out of this. And for Disturbance number 3, an area of low pressure is forecast to form by midweek, a couple of 100 miles north of the southeastern and central Bahamas, as a tropical wave interacts with the upper-level trough. Some gradual development of this system is possible thereafter. Any tropical depression could form later this week while the system moves northwestward or northward across the Atlantic. Now, if it's moving northward or northwestward, it would definitely affect some portions of the United States. I'd say possibly Rhode Island, New York, and Connecticut are some areas. Maybe even Maryland. We should keep an eye for the direction of this storm, since it's going to be moving northwestward. Now, let's move to Tropical Storm Nicholas. Tropical Storm Nicholas is, as I was saying, a tropical storm. Now, Tropical Storm Nicholas may not become a hurricane. I forecast it could possibly make a run at becoming a hurricane, but it's not strengthening very rapidly, and that's likely because of some wind shear that's in the area. But this storm will cause plenty of rain. As you can see, possibly 15 to 20 inches in portions of Texas. Near Houston, we could see that high amount of rain, really spanning from all the way up to Houston and down even near Corpus Christi. We could be seeing 6 to 15 inches of rain. So a lot of rainfall is what we're going to be seeing with this thing. And the problem with this storm is it's going to stall over land. Now, I want to bring you to the H-Wharf model. The H-Wharf model has this strengthening to around strong tropical storm strength, which is possible. I'd say landfall will be around 55 to 60, possibly 65 mile an hour wind on landfall. That's a lot less than what I was forecasting previously, but that's because we're seeing that slower intensification. Now, as you can see, this is going to stall somewhere over Louisiana or Texas, and hopefully this won't drop too much rain when it stalls, but that's the problem. It's not going to be moving very, very fast, so that stalling will likely be the cause of this high amount of rainfall. Now, we could also see some storm surge with this thing. From Port O'Connor to St. Louis Pass, around 3 to 5 feet of storm surge, so that's definitely not good. So if you live in those areas, please keep an eye out for a chance of some high storm surge. What happens with these storms is that we get that water being pushed on land by the wind, and that is what makes the storm waters rise. So let's take a look at your wind speed probabilities. So this is a tropical storm. Do expect tropical storm conditions. We're possibly going to see some tropical storm conditions. Actually, I think it's quite likely to see tropical storm conditions in portions of Mexico and along the coast of Texas and up into Louisiana. There is a possibility we could see some tropical storm conditions. Near Corpus Christi, we have probably around a 50 to 60% chance of seeing tropical storm force conditions. So expect some blustery conditions, and definitely expect some rain. So start preparing for those kind of things. Tropical storm conditions, as we do know, depending on their severity or strength, can cause some issues. As I showed you in one of my other live streams, one of my plants in a nice big ceramic pot was blown over in wind of only 22 mile an hour. So it's definitely something we need to keep an eye on. There is a hurricane watch still in effect for portions of Texas, though there is a tropical storm warning spanning all the way from Mexico around the Rio Grande all the way up to near Louisiana, and there's a tropical storm watch for the Louisiana and Texas border. Now, as you can see, what's going to happen with this storm is it's going to stall from 7 p.m. to 7 p.m. Wednesday to around 7 p.m. Thursday. We're going to see this storm stall. It's just going to stall somewhere over Louisiana. Based on what the H-WRF is showing, it looks like maybe the rain will have died down by then. I'm hoping that is the case. But we have to prepare for the worst. Keep an eye out for this thing. Because there is definitely the possibility of that high rainfall. And one other thing we should keep an eye out on is, take a look at this, the small wind field on this storm. It has a very, very small wind field, but as it starts to strengthen and build up, I would expect that eye wall to start expanding. Now, I'm going to bring you to the IR loop for the true color loop for this storm on the satellite imagery. As you can see, it's looking quite rough. There is some circulation in it, but it's not very obvious. And the areas of convection in this storm are very, very splotchy. There's an area right here and an area right here. Nothing really obvious. So it's not looking very good on satellite imagery right now. It only has wind of 40 miles per hour, though that probably will start to go up as we go out on the future. Here's the intensity guidance. Most models are bringing this to a mid-strength tropical storm. None of them are bringing it to hurricane force as they did previously. The track guidance, as you can see, we don't really have a good idea of where landfall could be. We could see landfall anywhere from around Corpus Christi, possibly even up to the Louisiana/Texas border. So the landfall area is very, very uncertain. But no matter what we see as far as landfall goes, there's going to be tropical storm conditions spanning from Mexico all the way up through Texas and into Louisiana, regardless of where we're going to see that landfall. So if you're thinking I can get away from that tropical storm force wind, because these models are a mess and I'm kind of out of it, you're probably, if you live in an area where these track guidances are bringing that into you, probably going to experience some of that tropical weather. Now, one other thing that we should probably take into account when forecasting Nicholas is the water temperature. As you can see, there's a portion off the coast of Texas, portion of water around 30 degrees Celsius, so some very, very warm water. And this warm water could allow for some strengthening. But as I also said, there's some wind shear in this area right here. I'm going to label it S. For wind shear. There's some wind shear in that area, and I think that'll keep Nicholas from becoming an extremely large storm. Though the warm water temperatures will likely lead to some further strengthening. Now, before I go into my last point, I want to bring up the water temperature. So that disturbance 1 that's moving off of Africa, as you can see, it will be moving into some warm water temperatures. So as it moves westward, it'll start getting into that warmer and warmer water temperature, though it may form into a disturbance after it comes out of off of Africa. I would expect the most of the strengthening for the storm to be once it gets into that nice warm water. So that'll allow it to strengthen. And the other disturbance number 3, may also have a chance at forming, though it will be moving into that cooler water. So if it does form, it probably won't become something that we should worry about too much, though we should keep an eye on it nonetheless. Now, I'm going to bring you to the WKP Weather Center website. That's my website. Click on Tropical Storm Nicholas here. And as you can see, here's my forecast for the disturbances. Disturbance number 1, it's possible that it could form. Disturbance number 3, possible. And disturbance number 2, that's unlikely as of now. I do not believe that'll form. That will just dissipate. Now, as far as tropical storm wind speed probabilities go, there's a likely chance of tropical storm force winds anywhere from Mexico all the way up into around Houston, Texas. And there's also probably a likelihood of tropical storm force winds in Louisiana, but that may change depending on where we're going to see that landfall occur. A little more inland in Mexico, we could see that tropical storm force wind possibility. And same with Texas. We could go a little more inland from the coast and still see a possibility of tropical storm force winds. Now we go even more inland, and it's very unlikely that we'll see any tropical storm force winds in these areas, though there is a possibility for some gusty winds, probably 15 plus for those areas that have a very unlikely chance of seeing tropical storm force winds, though there could be a chance of some blustery conditions. So, now I'm going to answer your questions. If you have any questions, please ask them. It looks like we don't have any questions. So, thank you for watching. This has been WKP. Please stay tuned for a gospel video that I'll try to upload tonight. And that is it for the video.